So, we're going to do a little activity. Fun fact, if you don't already know, here's your reminder that Texas CASA, among all their requirements, requires us to do some kind of diversity inclusion training every year. They don't put any restrictions on it, so we thought the best way for everyone to get it all together all at once was a mandatory in-service. So, Janet and Kat are going to pass around what you need for this activity. It's not going to be too painful, don't worry. You don't have to get up and move. But the activity is called How Diverse is Your Universe? So you'll each get your own little clear plastic cup. And then Kat is going around and putting a handful of different colored papers on all of the tables. The goal of this, as I ask questions, you're going to select the colored paper based on the race that is the answer to the question that I ask. So if I ask, what race do you identify as, you're going to pick whatever color, which I will tell you what those colors mean here in just a minute. And so the goal of this and the purpose of this is to kind of see the type of people in your immediate life and how, just how diverse your friends and your family and your coworkers and all that is. And if we need to, invest in some more diversity training in our world so that we can make sure we're taking that into our cases and everything in our life. Any questions about what we're about to do? Okay. Then I'm gonna let them finish passing out the stuff, and then we'll go ahead and get started once they're done. I will say that there are plenty of snacks in the back, and Janet made homemade banana bread muffins, so be sure to grab one.
I saw you. You're different, huh? You know that. I saw you. Yeah, it's cold.
Right.
There should be 5 colors in every table. White, black, green,
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
white, black, green, blue, and
Yeah.
Say that real fast.
Well, there's an just like, yes, it's like the ones that are better that already come out.
We have 5 colors. So she went to trouble.
Yeah.
All right, we're about to go ahead and get started and finish passing out all the fun, colorful papers. So I'll give y'all just a minute to get back to your seat.
Makes sense,
Listen, my little sister.
Yeah.
Okay, are y'all ready?
It's been
Okay, so as you can see, there are different colored piles of paper on your table, and you each have a clear cup. So I'm gonna tell you what each race equals as the color to put in your cup for the answer for the question. So white paper is Caucasian, black paper is African American, green paper is Hispanic, blue paper is Asian, and yellow is other. So if you, sorry Jan, were you talking to me?
Oh, just, could you repeat those?
Yes. White is Caucasian. White is Caucasian.
White is white.
Black is African American. Green is Hispanic. Blue is Asian, and yellow is other. So if they don't fit into that category, if they're mixed, that's kind of what that means. Okay, so we're gonna start off with the easiest question, I hope. Select a paper that most closely represents your race and ethnicity. Okay, has everyone done their first one? Okay, good. Select the paper that most closely represents the race of your significant other.
What color is the dog?
That's what she just asked. She's like, green, so the next one is select the paper that represents the race of your closest friend.
Do you have two best friends?
Yes, if you have two best friends and you just can't choose, you can do two. Okay, so then select a race of people whom you worship, what they predominantly are, majority. And if they are very mixed, if it's a whole mix, then you can grab a little of whatever. Who you worship with. So if you go to church, what is the overall majority? Or if it's very mixed, grab a couple of what they are. You'll take your color that represents the majority of the race in your, who you worship with, who goes to your church.
Oh, okay.
Good? Okay. My neighbors at home on either side of my house are blank. My neighbors at home on either side of my house are blank. My doctor is blank. My doctor or doctors, can be multiple, you know.
Erase all your doctors in there.
Are we settled on doctors? Okay, my dentist is blank. I assume we only have one dentist. Yeah, I guess you don't have a dentist. This may not apply also, you know, some people don't go to the dentist, some people also don't have an attorney. If you have an attorney, what race are they? My boss is blank. If you're retired, maybe just choose your last boss.
Or put your wife in there again.
That's true.
Any questions about boss, what that means?
Do you have any questions about what that means?
My coworkers are predominantly, so if you have a whole bunch of mixed, then it's okay to pull a couple of each. But if they're pretty much all one, then go ahead and grab that.
Starting tomorrow, coworkers.
predominantly blank.
The last
The last good movie I saw, the people in it were predominantly blank. Pick a movie, the last favorite movie you watched, the last one you liked, and the people in it, were they all white, were they mixed, like the actors in the movie? If they were the people in my favorite TV show are predominantly blank. During the course of a day, the people with whom I come into contact with are predominantly blank.
They're starting to see.
The person who I most admire or who has made the greatest impact on my life is blank.
Black.
If y'all run out of the color you're looking for, just let Kat and Janet know. They'll get you more. And the last one, the people in my favorite music group or band are predominantly blank. Okay, has everyone answered that last question and got all their pieces in their cups? Okay, so I want us to all take a minute and look at our own cup. Do you feel like it is very mixed, that you have a very diverse group? Or do you feel like it's not so diverse? You know, maybe you were running in kind of the same circles. I'm not as exposed to so many things as I maybe thought I was. I didn't maybe have as much knowledge as maybe I think I should. So that is the goal of this activity, is to help you visualize and kind of get out of your head and like think about it, like person by person, area of your life, entertainment, your inner circle, who you work with, things like that. Are we diverse? Are we getting access to those different cultures? Are we getting access to different religions? Things like that, okay? So I want you to look at your cup and you're thinking about yourself. Now think about the children you're serving, that family on your case right now, or your past cases or your future cases. Do those match with your universe that you're dealing with? If they do, then that's super helpful, at least for your current state. But if they don't match, and I have one cup that's got predominantly white and I'm serving a African-American child and family, that kind of helps me realize like, oh, I might need to learn a little bit more. Like, people all have different cultures, and that is an awesome thing. And so I need to go into this case open-minded and try to learn a little bit more and check myself to see, am I having any bias on accident? And so it's just kind of a little refresher. So I want y'all to kind of take a minute amongst y'all selves at y'all's table, and Kat and Janet and me are going to kind of jump in and talk with y'all and say, we just want to see like what y'all's cups look like. Do you feel like it's very diverse? Where is your diversity coming from in your life? And how is that applying to your cost of work, or is there areas that we need to learn more about? So we'll spend a few minutes doing that.
I don't know.
Ready? Talk.
So what are y'all thinking?
Your cups are predominantly white, and I both have a few. Same thing in education. She's teaching. We're all waiting for custody. Like they can just take her for a couple nights, she was evicted. So I would say the happiness was every school that doesn't yes, that's what I did. But how many superintendents
And you're in training. So what I'm thinking
somebody in trouble.
but you didn't remember it until you had to.
That's what I did.
All of the conferences to celebrate their 4-year anniversary. Get it once.
That's a bit of I think. I'm probably sure that's not going to be in my job description.
Okay, y'all, but nice to have you. We'll break up the conversation too, and I do want to try and keep us on track. So, before I share kind of some final thoughts about this activity and what I'm hoping that y'all got out of it, does anyone want to raise their hand and share any takeaways that they have, just on mindfulness that they'll take into their future casework? Yes.
I would like to be very interested in what you said about diversity, because there is a big difference in different cultures. I have the privilege of talking to the lady on my left, going, wow, you know, I did for my culture experience, but yet not. So I found that to be interesting.
So just, I'll repeat, kind of summarize what she said, just to make sure everyone here. She said that she would be interested in taking more diversity type in services, that she talked with Cindy, her right next to her, and that she kind of realized that she kind of, in some ways, took her culture and her race for granted, and just kind of, in talking, realized there are some pretty key differences, and that it was just kind of like, oh, wow, yeah, okay. Anyone else want to share any takeaways? Okay. So I will leave you with these final thoughts. That the goal, and I know Janet hits on it in training in various different ways, is that when we're going in and working with these families, and not only just the family in the case, but the foster family, they're all different. There can be different races, they can be different religions, they can just be different in the way they organize their home and their structure and their strictness on chores. And so what we do in our own personal life, we feel is right for us, but that household and their culture might be different. Just because it's different doesn't mean it's wrong. And so to try and keep it open-minded, and if you are struggling with the way something is going, then be open to having conversations with your supervisor and saying, am I at a stuck point, or is this an issue? And how do I go about it? And can you sit down, and if it is an issue, or you're just kind of not understanding, maybe having a conversation with that parent, that grandma, that foster mom, to say, like, help me understand why y'all operate this way, why y'all do this way. The most basic example is, some households they have a very strict routine, and I know that that's been a struggle for some kids, and so that has some kind of make or break placements. And so sometimes it's helping them understand trauma in our kids, and that some kids don't respond to structure in the same ways that they grew up with. So, thank you for your participation, and I hope that you remember that stuff going forward in your cases. So next, I'm going to do a little recap of CFE. Most of y'all should be pretty familiar with what CFE is, but I know that we do have some new advocates, so I'm going to do a quick refresh. I'm looking at this handout if y'all want to follow along with me. So does someone want to tell me what CFE stands for? Love it. Great. So, for some of y'all already know, but I'll go ahead and tell you. What that means and the goal and the heart behind CFE, or collaborative family engagement, is that it's helping utilize tools to help build healthy connections for children that we serve and for families. And so ideally, in a perfect world, that's connecting them with more family, but that's not exclusive to family. We all, I think in this room, can name somebody who is not blood relation to us, but that is a very important person to our lives, who has made an impactful difference when we were growing up. And so y'all know that as children get removed, they basically sever all their ties. Their teachers, their relatives, their friends from school, and they lose all those connections when they get shipped 2 hours down the road. And so the goal as CASA is to help build that back and get new connections and reconnect with past people. So I get a little passionate about it because I just I think it's really great, and I hope that you do too, so, bear with me as I give my speech. So the goals is just what I said to do. So, you have a little graphic that kind of highlights that on your slides. It says the main goals of CFE, that there are 26 tools. There are several tools out there, and your supervisors and me are always available to help go through those with you. We've had in-services throughout the year over the most commonly used ones, so circles of trust, the 3 houses, we just did one on family trees. And so these different tools, if you're not already trained on them, we can train with you one-on-one. Your supervisors are familiar with the tools. I'm happy to meet with you, even though I'm not your supervisor, and walk you through that. If you missed the past trainings on how to use the 3 houses tool, it's not supposed to be like extra work. We're not adding extra work onto y'all. It's y'all are already going to these houses and talking with these foster parents and these children, and it's just kind of a little bit more of a strategic way to ask questions and gain information than maybe we were doing before. And so it kind of pulls some information and helps us ask questions that maybe we weren't fully asking, or getting information of, well, who's important to you? Oh, well, I really miss my aunt. I used to visit with her at Christmas, but we moved and I haven't talked to her in 3 years. Okay, well, do you know where she lives? Well, I think she lives in the Houston area, but I don't know. My mom probably knows it's her. So then we can go to mom and say, your child told me that they really miss their Aunt Susie. Can we reconnect? Is Aunt Susie safe? And then maybe if they're, hopefully, if they're foster, we can get them placed with a relative. And if that doesn't happen, that doesn't mean that CFE is a failure. Ideally, then maybe they can have contact. Maybe they are having weekly phone calls, and so that child may not be placed with them, but they still have one more person who calls them on their birthday to say, happy birthday, I love you. This is where I get emotional. Oh, dang it. I truly believe that children heal because people care about them. Y'all are one of those people, but we can't always be there every day of each of these kids' lives. Eventually your case is closed, and we want to build support for them outside of us. We don't want them to lean on the system. We want them, the parents and the children, to have healthy relationships so that they don't fall back into that old habit. So that mom, if she's having a craving, if she's having a hard time, she wants to go back to drugs, she has a friend, a family to say, like, I'm having a hard time, I need your help, not to just turn back because she has no support system. So that's really why I get passionate about this. So, you know, I hope that you get the message that I'm trying to do. That is the heart of CFE. You also have the core values on there. So if you're ever frustrated and feeling like it's not working, there's a friendly little reminder of all the different values that this brings to the table. They refer to like 4 C's in the CFE trainings that you might be attending online, things like that. If you don't know about them, ask your supervisor. We can point you to that training. But it's collaboration, cultivate, convene, and connect. And so those are all 4 words that basically just say what I just said. Our goal is to collaborate with the family and the caseworkers. We're cultivating, we're asking questions, we're using tools, we're gathering information. We're convening, and so we're working with CPS to say, hey, I got this information for this aunt. Can you run her background check so that we can figure out if she wants to be placement, is she a safe placement? And then we're connecting them. And so once we've done our due diligence to find the information and to vet them, then we connect them with the family and the parents. And so that way they're either a placement, they're a safe contact, they're taken to church every weekend because they're in the next town over and they get to do that, or they get to go home on the holiday, or to aunt and uncles on the holiday, things like that. So that's kind of the back behind what that is. Yep. We also aren't just doing this by ourselves. Ideally, we're working with our caseworker and talking to them and saying, here, I think we really need to use these 2 or 3 tools. These are the best tools that are gonna give us what we're looking for. I'm gonna work on this tool with the child. Would you work on this tool with the mom and help gather this information? You may not always get the best response from your caseworker, just given on what's going on or who your caseworker is, but that doesn't mean we can't use it. We, as CASA, I think especially in all the transition that we just talked about, we are their constant, and just we can use these tools and gather this information and help connect them, even if CPS doesn't work with us quite the way we want them to in the process.
We have some caseworkers that are involved like that do that.
We that have done CFE with us, we have on some cases had some caseworkers do some tools with us. They're kind of having a rough time with all the transition, so it has been more difficult lately to kind of pick up momentum. But I know that people in this room are using these tools, and I have heard success stories. I know that Kat can share some. We could spend the whole 2.5 hours sitting here talking about CFE and how great it is and success stories. Did you try to raise your hand, Chris? Oh, okay, sorry. But we're doing this because we believe in it. We've been doing it little by little for a couple of years now. It is backed by research. I don't have all the data. I don't want to bore you with the data, but I believe that y'all trust us and I trust the experts. There is data out there that shows that this works and that children are healing and becoming more connected because of these tools and because of the collaboration.